Hi everybody. In this lesson, you're going to go ahead and add a switch component to your app so that your soundboard app, whenever the switch is flicked on, the volume is going to go down. And when you switch it off, the volume will come back up to where it usually is. Now, I know you might think this is kind of silly, like why would you need this in your app? But at the same time, I want you to think that this is going to teach you how to use a conditional. What's a conditional? A conditional is a logical statement that you're going to use a lot in programming that pretty simply works only if the condition is met. So what does that mean? That means it's kind of like a light switch. If the light switch is on, then the light's going to turn on. If the light switch is off, then the light is going to turn off, right? You could also think about it in a sense of your regular daily life. If it's raining outside, bring an umbrella with you. Right? If it's not raining outside, don't bring an umbrella with you, right? So we use conditionals all the time because they're just logical statements, and we can use them in our programs to bring about a lot of different functionality. So let's go ahead and get started. So right away, as you can see here, I've got my app, and my app works pretty simply. I've got all my buttons and it's all making the sounds, and each sound has its own button so that we don't have any delay. Now what I'm going to do is, before we get started, you should always test your app and make sure everything is working. I'm going to be going to the app on my phone here, and I'm going to need to make sure that it loads up. It's loaded up, and let's go ahead and give it a go and make sure it works.
Make it, do it, makes us harder, better, faster, stronger.
Perfect, it works. So now what I need to do is I'm going to start thinking about what I need to add to my app. Well, I need a switch on my design in my app so that people know what to switch. And I'm going to need to tell people what that switch is going to do. So the first thing I'm going to add is a row component so that the two can be right next to each other and not on top of each other. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to the layout section and grab a row. Once I put a row in, I'm going to put it in right over here. Great, I've got the row in. Now what I need to do is add a switch in. A switch is found on a user interface, and it looks like this. And so it's just a simple switch. And if we don't give directions to our users, they're not going to know what the switch does. So I'm going to grab a label component to go right next to it. Now, if we were planning to have a lot of different switches, then I would rename all of my switches. That's kind of important. But since we're only going to have one switch, let's go ahead and leave the switch as it is. And since it's just a label and we're not going to change this label, we're going to leave the label as it is. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make my label say switch to silence. All right. And I've got my switch here. I'm going to go ahead and change my row component properties so that it's only containing what's inside of it. So I'm going to have it fit the contents that are inside of it. And you'll see it smushes so that it only fits the contents inside of it. And I don't want it to start out silent. I want it to start out loud. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the switch's properties over here, and I can change the value of the switch to false. And you'll see that the switch also switches. So now when I open up the app, it'll switch to false. And if we want, we can go ahead and test that and just see what it looks like. And hey, it looks pretty good. And I can go ahead and switch it, and it looks like it's switching, but obviously we haven't fit any of the functionality in. So let's go ahead and program this switch so that it'll actually do what we want it to do, which is to lower the volume of all of our sounds. So I'm going to go over to the block section over here. I've got all my 8 sounds over here, and I'm going to start thinking, well, what do I want to happen? Well, I want it so that when the switch goes off, to bring the volume down. So to start things off here, I'm going to go over here to the switch component, and I'm going to go and find what blocks they have. Let's take a look at the blocks really quick. So far, I've got the switch on value change. Remember, this is the event handler. So this is what's going to happen every time the switch is triggered. So if it's triggered on or off, this event is going to happen. Then I can set the value to something different. I can get the value. I can make the switch invisible. I can find out what the visibility is. I can disable the switch. I can find out whether or not it's disabled or not. I can change the tint color, find out what the tint color is. I can set the on tint color, and I can even switch the thumb tint color, and I can get those values as well. So when I'm thinking about all these, well, what do I really need right now? I need to find out, or I need to make the event happen when the switch is switched. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this, and when I grab it, you'll notice that there's a little new block that comes out. This is the output block. This tells the app what it switched on, what it switched to. Did it switch on or did it switch off? So far I've got this new value here, and I've got this switch, and I can grab this block and move it anywhere I want. So what I'm thinking now is I needed to say, if this new value here is true, then bring the volume down, right? Else, if it's not true, then I want to bring the volume up, all right? Anytime we have these one option switches, or like a true or a false, we call this a Boolean statement, all right? A Boolean just means that there's only two potential values. Usually those values are on or off, all right? So we're gonna be using this Boolean statement. Don't let the big word scare you. It just means on or off, or one option. So now I need to say if this is on, all right? So I'm going to go to the conditional section, and I have a lot of options for, the control section, and I have a lot of options here. I could either have it say just an if, or I could have it say an if else, all right? So I'm going to think if or if else. Honestly, I want it to be if else so that it can also do the opposite functionality as well. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this if statement here. And then I'm thinking, well, if this new value is true, right? Is usually means equals whenever we talk in math. So I'm going to go grab an equal sign. The equal sign is found under logic. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a logic here, and I'm going to go ahead and throw this in. So I'm going to say, hey, if this new value is true. So I'm going to go to the logic section, and I can grab a true block. Great. So now I'm saying, okay, if this new value is true, then do what? Well, let's try one sound so far. Let's go ahead and try the faster sound. All right, so if we look under the faster sound, volume control is one of the properties. So let's go ahead and change one of the volume properties. So I'm going to say, hey, if the value is true, let's set the faster sound volume to 0. Now, the volume can go from 0 to 100. So I'm going to choose 10 because I don't want it to be silent. I want it to be quieter, right? So I'm going to say, hey, let's bring the faster sound volume to 10, right? And we can go ahead and try this and make sure it works. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the live test here, make sure I'm doing it on the phone, because actually volume cannot be controlled on the computer kind of display. Make sure it's loaded up here. And right now, since we're doing the faster sound, I'm only going to be touching the faster sound.
Faster.
There it's loud.
Faster.
And there it's quiet. So far it works. And if I switch it back,
faster,
it stays quiet, which is not exactly what we're going for here. So what I'm going to do is I need to say, well, if it's not on, if it's off, if the value is false, or else, if anything but true, then I need it to go back to like level 100 or 90 or something loud again. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to copy this and put it down here. So the faster sound volume, I'm going to set it back up to, instead of 100, let's bring it to 90. Feel free to change it to 100 on your own app if you'd like. So let's go ahead and give this a try. I'm going to have to hit live test, so this kind of refreshes. Hit live test here, kind of refreshes, and now I can go ahead and hit faster.
Faster, faster, faster.
It's loud, and then I switch it to silent.
Faster,
and it's quiet.
faster, faster.
And I switch it back.
Faster,
And it's loud
faster.
Again. So far, so good. We've got it working, the basic functionalities of this. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy and paste this multiple times, because we don't just want the faster sound to work with this. We want all of the sounds to work with this. So I'm going to copy and paste it, and I've got 7 more sounds. So I'm going to paste it 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to connect them all. It's usually easier if you go from the bottom to the top. And I'm going to add them all to here. Now I need to change them from being the faster sound to all the other sounds. So I'm going to go ahead and find my sounds. I've got my faster sound here, so I'm going to make the next one better sound, work it, make it stronger, 2, make a sound, stronger 1, and the do it sound. So now I've got all the sounds here for the volume down. Let's go ahead and test this and make sure it works. So I'm going to go ahead and hit live test again. And now it should only work going down, right? Or making the volume go down. So I'm going to hit the button, just make sure it's all loud. Great.
Faster, stronger, better, makes
and
us
now I'm going to go ahead and bring it to silent mode and see what it does. Nice, it makes it quiet. Great. So far, so good. Now I got to do the same thing for the reverse. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste 7 sounds of this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Connect them all. And I'm going to drag them up here. And they're already at 90, so now I need to go ahead and make them all the other sounds. So I'm just going to do that really quick. All right, so I've got all my sounds here, and I've got all my sounds here. Let's go ahead and see if this works. So I'm gonna hit live test so that it refreshes again. Let's go give it a shot. So I'm gonna hit buttons.
Make it, do it, makes us harder, better, faster, stronger.
Great. Now I'm gonna go ahead and make it silent.
Make it, do it, makes us harder, better, faster, stronger.
So far so good. And if I go bring the volume back,
Make it,
brings
do
it all
it,
back.
makes
We're
us
on to
harder,
something here.
better,
Great.
faster, stronger.
So now what I need to do is I can go ahead and also make it so that when the screen opens, it always starts out at a volume that we want. All right, this is a really, really important event that you're going to use in all of your apps. I'm sure you will. And it's called the when the screen opens event. So if you go to screen one component, you can find the screen one opens. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this. And I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, make sure all the sounds start out at this volume level 90. So the easiest way to do this is to just copy and paste the entire if statement, grab the bottom part, and when you grab the bottom part here, you're going to go ahead and erase the other part, and that's pretty much it. So now every time we open up the app, it's going to go to volume level 90. If they flip the switch, the volume level will go down to 10, and then if they flip the switch again, it'll go back up to 90. And that's pretty much it. I hope this video lesson helped you, and I'm excited to see you in the next lesson where we add more customizations to your app. I'll see you there.